Okay, so today we're going to do your 4.6 notes, and this is just going to be more practice with congruent triangles like we talked about in the last lesson. So you're going to use this triangle congruent statement to answer question number 1 and number 2. And remember that the order of the letters matter, so we have to match up the sides and the angles, the corresponding sides and corresponding angles based on this statement right here. So I'm going to use colors again, and then I will use tick marks as well. When I'm matching it up, I know that Q and R are the first 2 letters. So if I do that side in a color, I'm going to do G and H in the same color. And if I wanted to, again, if I wanted to do it just with math symbols, I could do 1 tick mark each. Then I have R and S. That side corresponds with H and K. So line segment HK right there. And again, with the math symbols, I could put 2 congruent tick marks on each. I can't use 1. And then just to double check, Q is the first letter, S is the last letter. So that side goes with G and K, first letter, last letter. And again, I could do 3 tick marks because I've already used 1 and 2, but 3 tick marks each on those. So now that I have it all marked up, I should know which sides go together, which sides correspond. So that's what we're going to do here. Identify all pairs of congruent corresponding parts. So that means there are 6 lines here. We have to talk about 3 sets of sides and 3 sets of angles. So I'm going to start with the sides. QR is congruent to and is corresponding to side GH. And since I started with Q, with the pink and the yellow, I started with G since it has pink and yellow. Then on the next one, I could say QS, line segment QS, is going to be congruent to line segment GK. And again, I went in order, so Q had pink and yellow, so that's why I did G first. And then the last side I don't have yet is line segment RS, congruent to line segment HK. So I've done all the corresponding sides. Now I have to do the same with the angles. I know that angle Q is congruent to angle G. Sorry, wrote Q. I know that angle R is congruent to angle H. And I know that angle S is congruent to angle K. So I've got all congruent sides, all the pairs of congruent angles. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the value of X, and I'm going to find the measure of angle G. So if I look at this picture, I see the 2x minus 7 at angle G, and I know that that angle corresponds with this angle up here. Unfortunately, I don't know this angle, but I know that triangles add up to 180, so that's going to help me find angle Q. So 42 plus 50 is 92. 180 minus 92 is going to be 88 degrees. So I know that angle Q is 88 degrees. And then I know that these 2 angles are congruent because we just said over here that Q was congruent to angle G. So I can write an equation because in my head congruent means same size, right? So I can say equals 88. So angle G equals angle Q, which was 88, and then I can solve. So if I add 7 to both sides, I end up with 2x equals 95, and if I divide by 2, I end up with x equals 47.5. So that's the first part. I still have to find measure of angle G. Now there are 2 ways you can do this. One way is we knew that angle Q and angle G were congruent, so we should already know that it's 88 degrees. But if you want to double check this answer, remember you can go and you can plug x into that equation. So I'm going to do that way. 2 times 47.5 minus 7 2 times 47.5 is 95. Minus 7 is 88 degrees. So measure of angle G has to be 88 degrees, and that makes sense because we knew that that one was 88 degrees and they were congruent. Then if I move on down here, we've got a lot of stuff we need to find in this one. And also, we don't have anything filled in, so you're going to have to put all of the stuff in its correct location. So I'm going to start off labeling with my colors, or again, if you're going to use tick marks, that's fine. So I know ML is corresponding to PO. I know that LN is corresponding to ON, and I know that MN is corresponding to PN. So with tick marks, I can do 1 and 1, 2 and 2, 3 and 3. Alright, angle L. In that corner, I know that I need 5x minus 4. Measure of angle M is 2y. Measure of angle P is 48 degrees. Measure of angle O is 91 degrees. LM is 4w plus 2. MN is 15 feet. LN is 2v. NP is z minus 21. PO is 18 feet, and ON is 30 feet. So we're going to do a couple of these together, and then you're going to solve for a couple of them on your own. I'm just going to go in order here. So if we wanted to solve for V, it is a side, and it's a side that has 2 tick marks and is colored in yellow. So the corresponding side is over here. And since they're congruent, I know that these two are the same exact size. So I can write my equation 2V equals 30 to get V by itself, dividing by 2, and I end up with V has to be 15. So I got V. Then I'm going to move on to W. For W, again, it's a side length, and it's in pink with 3 tick marks, so the corresponding side is over here, and since they have 3 tick marks each, that means they're equal. So for my next equation, I can say 4W plus 2 has to be equal to 18. To solve for W, I'm subtracting 2 on both sides, so I've got 4W equals 16, dividing by 4, so W has to be 4. Okay, X is the last one we're going to do together, and then you'll be on your own. So this time X is an angle, and it's the angle L. It's pink and yellow, so that must correspond with angle O, which is also pink and yellow. And since they correspond, in this case they are also congruent. So I can write my equation saying 5x minus 4 has to equal 91. And then add 4 to both sides. 5x has to equal 95. If I divide by 5 on both sides, x has to equal 19. Alright, so your job is going to be to solve for y and solve for z. Once you finish solving for y and z, then you're going to show it to your teacher and move on to the next step.